And so we have sessions going on every day. And for the sessions that are considered webinars, we have a Zoom link for all of those. And every day after the sessions have completed, there is a debriefing meeting, which is a separate Zoom link that you do not need to register for. And those links to the two Zoom links are on the agenda for this workshop, which is located on our website. And so I'm going to let Sue Glazer take it away. She is presenting for us for this session. If you want to advance your slides, I can.
Is it? There we go. You got the closed captioning. Just a reminder that if you want to write in the chat box, make sure you change the to so that it reads all panelists and attendees. That way everybody can see what you are writing. And Liz just explained it's the same for every session that we have. The materials will be available for download on the agenda, and the links included here, or you can go to our website and look for past events site and
So
materials.
So next week we'll be moving everything over to the past events page. So that's where you'll find all of the recordings and handouts and good stuff. But we will be adding handouts throughout the week as they become available. Okay, so I'm sure some of you are looking for in-service credit. We also offer ACVREP credit, and I'm going to be giving you the opening code, and at the end of the session, I'll tell you how you can get that credit. So the opening code for this session is concrete. Concrete. Oh, and it looks like our captioner does not have the captioning window. Set that up again. Okay, so I'm not sure if the captions are working yet. It looks like it's available. Okay.
All right, we've got captioning.
Okay, so I think we're good.
All right, we're ready to go. And stick around at the end of the session. You'll receive information on how to receive, the closing code and then how to obtain credit, in-service credit. So welcome to Early Braille Literacy. My name is Sue Glazer. I'm currently a statewide educational specialist for the visually impaired with FIMC. I also am a teacher of students with visual impairments and an orientation and mobility instructor. And I started my journey in education actually in elementary education. My undergraduate degree is in elementary ed. So this is all just right up my alley. Books, and more books, and literacy. It's just, it brings the world to our fingertips. And for children who read Braille, it's a little more literal. So I'm going to be talking about, originally it was emergent literacy, and there's just so much to cover, and some things kind of overlap, and some there's no really defined ending to emergent literacy before formal literacy instruction begins. So we're going to talk about all things that need to happen early on for children to be successful Braille readers. All right, our objectives, we want to make sure that attendees are either going to learn or enhance existing knowledge of meaningful experiences to young children with visual impairments, the use of language and vocabulary during those meaningful experiences, and why that's necessary. We'll look at concept development and what that means for future literacy success. exposing young children with visual impairments to literacy behaviors. They need to have access to these things if we want them to be able to later do them. We're going to look at tactile skills development and creating and using individualized accessible books. This is an awful lot of information materials, just like our first presenters had a very difficult challenge of fitting everything in. So this will definitely be highlights. We could spend years talking about all of these topics. First of all, emergent literacy. Diane Wormsley defines emergent literacy as the process of becoming familiar with written language, is generally known as emergent literacy. The term refers to the time during which literacy is emerging in the child. Infants and toddlers are learning about reading and writing long before they actually learn how to read and write. Sighted children, children that are typically developing, they're going to learn these things without a lot of effort on their part or their caregivers, because we all know they have incidental learning. Even if they don't want to learn, they're going to learn just from being out there. For all children, having extra supports and experiences and all of these literacy skills is going to enhance their learning. But kids have meaningful experiences. They need to participate in day-to-day activities that happen with their family, in the household, outside their house, in the community. Everywhere they go, they need to have meaningful experiences. For children with visual impairments, this is even more crucial because like we all know, they're not just looking around and seeing things happening. So they have to be involved in everything in their lives. We need language and vocabulary. So we have to talk about what they're doing while they're doing it. Can't just talk. Just talking it could be anything. It could be gibberish from a Dr. Seuss book. It could be Charlie Brown's teacher saying wah, 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 wah. The language has to be paired with the doing. So language and vocabulary are going to be learned by having the meaningful experiences. Children also need to learn the concepts to make sense of their world and figure out how to interact with it. Just hearing the words about something, just being in the middle of an experience while it's happening around them, it's not going to mean a whole lot if they don't understand what's being talked about and what's happening. Access to or observation of literacy activities. Children have to have exposure. They need access to print and Braille. They have to see others using it. They have to know how it's used, when it's used, why it's used, because that's what sighted kids are doing. They're watching these things happening and they're figuring it out on their own, or they're getting additional vocabulary that's helping them make sense. For students with visual impairments, we need those tactile skills. They have to develop hand skills and strength, finger dexterity, wrist rotation, lots and lots of tactile sensitivity, tactile perception if we want them to have literacy success. And exposure to books. Books, and more books. This is going to come up a lot. They have to have a chance to develop book concepts. Just what is a book to start? And they have to have these experiences so that they can relate their personal life to what's happening so that they can create more literacy. Think about emergent literacy as experiences to literacy. It can be confusing for a parent, especially a parent for the first time, to think that washing the dishes, having their child help them put dirty clothes into a washing machine, what does that have to do with reading? I want my child to read. I don't need him to write at 2 years old to know how to do laundry. So it can be really, really challenging to help others understand why it's so important for children to do things. And the children who are not doing things, if they have normal vision, they're watching all of these things happen. And that's why it's so important for children with visual impairments to do these things. The experiences are going to lead to literacy. So first of all, we want to talk about making it meaningful. Can't say it enough, because children with visual impairments lack incidental learning. They have to actively participate in their everyday world. They can't just be bystanders. They can't just be there while things are happening. They need to have varied experiences. And this could be something as simple as what's happening in the household, bathing or dressing routines, eating, participating in chores and cleaning the house, helping take care of animals, learning about animals in their house. because having a stuffed animal in the form of a cat or a stuffed puppy dog as a plush toy, it doesn't really let them know what a cat is like or what an actual dog is like. It's a warm fuzzy and it might make them feel better, but they have to have experiences with all of these things so that they can start developing concepts and know what they really are. Going shopping and running errands, playing with siblings, playing outside of the home, socializing with others, going to even further outside the home, going to the zoo, a day at the beach, a walk in the woods or a park. The more variety, the better. Going to a pharmacy, a post office, if anybody actually goes to a bank anymore, any kind of a retail department store, a small business. Going through the gas station, but not just being in the car at the gas station, using a bus or taxi. For anybody can take a bus or a taxi, even if you have a car. So young children with visual impairments, the only way that they're going to understand and know what public transportation is to use it, whether the family needs it or not. Just having those experiences will be crucial. Going to a library, a doctor's office, a farm, a petting zoo farm, restaurants, friends' houses, varied. Do we give enough varied examples? Just the more, the better. The great thing, I'm going to put in a little plug for the ECC because that's everywhere. The great thing about teaching the expanded core curriculum is that you don't need a recipe. You don't need a physical book of a curriculum. It's everywhere. Just look around. When you step on your floor in the morning, you're standing on the ECC. It could be a tile floor. It could be a carpet floor. It could be a hardwood floor. You could be standing on the grass outside or sidewalk. Everywhere you go are opportunities to teach children, teach them experiences and teach them concepts. Children have to be mobile. They need some kind of mobility, and no matter what their age or other disabilities they may have, they can be mobile in some way. It might take an orientation mobility instructor or early interventionist or maybe some other therapists to help figure this out. But they have to be able to get about in their environment, even if their environment is just a very, very, very close quarters. It could be a pad or carpet that they use on the floor, and they have materials and items around them. They need to have the ability to reach to left or right or roll if they've got that. It could be using a walker or a pre-cane device, holding onto a toy that has wheels. It might just be walking, feeling safe. Children have to feel safe and secure in their environment. And I'm going to say this a lot because we need them to free up their brain power so that they can learn new things. This was one of the biggest things I learned during my orientation and mobility training at FSU. That Purvis Ponder used to instill and just really, really drive home is that the cane is there to free up the brain power, to pay attention to your environment and to listen to and smell and see all the clues and cues that are happening in the environment, not to worry about what's in front of you. And that's what I always like to think about when we're teaching children is we have to free up their brain power. Let's teach them things that they can do and feel comfortable and safe doing so that they can use that brain power to learn the difficult concepts and to advance and to get more complex. If children have anxiety about moving around in their world, then that's going to prevent them from learning, from wanting to explore further and what's happening. If all they're thinking about is where am I, what's going to happen, or I don't want to move because I don't know what's out there. Meaningful experiences have to be interactive. The child has to be there and they have to be involved with the language. So just taking a child to a grocery store or a retail store or any place out and about, it's not going to mean anything if they're sitting in the cart and they're being pushed around, or they're in a stroller and they're just being moved from place to place. Whoever's with them has to talk to them about the environment. Let the students interact with the environment. A grocery cart has an inside, a bottom, it's got wheels, it's got a top seat that someone can sit in, it has a handle, it can be pushed, it can be pulled, it can be raced, it can be filled with all kinds of wonderful things. A child who's just placed in the cart is not going to have any idea what this shopping cart, buggy, really fun, cool gadget is capable of. All they might know is it's cold. The metal is cold. They can put their fingers through the cracks and the holes, and that could be kind of exciting for 30 seconds or so. You could do a lesson, encourage your families to take their children, or some people, I see them pushing a shopping cart down the street sometimes. So I think, well, there must be a place that you can get grocery carts. If you're at a school site where maybe grocery carts or some kind of carts are being used to transport items, find a way. A trip to the grocery store doesn't have to be buying groceries. It can be just, let's go check out the carts and climb in them, over them, around them, under them, and see what that's all about. Make it interactive, and then talk about it as it's happening. Talk about what all of these things are, what they mean, and name them. Concrete, we want to keep it real. We're going to keep it really real these next few days, the rest of this week. Using real objects. Let's use real objects. Did I say that right? We want to use real objects to teach. We don't need to use a plastic piece of bread in the playhouse, even though it looks really real. It's got the crust along the side. It has little indentations and bumps, and it might even be toasted, and it has a slight brown spot on one side of it, or a little slab of butter on top, and it's melting. No matter how real it looks, it's not real. It's still plastic. Plush animals could have really visual features on them that make them look like a real animal, but it's still a stuffed toy, a stuffed animal. It's cushy and sweet and can be loving and give lots of good warm fuzzy feelings, but it's not going to give an idea of what a cat is. Plastic horses and plastic sheep and plastic cows and plastic tigers and plastic lions and plastic dogs. You know what they all feel like? I think everybody knows. They feel like plastic. Sometimes they're sharp. Sometimes Andrea got it, kiss your brain. Sometimes they might have parts that are longer than others. They might have bumps or ridges, but it's a lot of plastic. I understand, TBI, you're not just gonna go outside and find cows and horses and tigers and all these things, but there are real animals out there that children can get access to, working with families, working with schools, working with science labs, getting very, very creative, petting zoos, going to a pet store to find those real things. It's really important. And maybe just not use it. So a 4 or 5-year-old maybe doesn't need to learn about volcanoes, even though there's a really, really cute book that the rest of the class is learning about and reading. Let's find something else that's going to be accessible, that we can actually hold on to and make it concrete until the children learn the concepts they need to start making generalizations and comparisons of mountains. Yes, has to be as real as possible, for sure. Unifying. A lot of these making it meaningful are very overlapping, and they all work together. A unifying experience. So again, putting a child in a grocery cart. What are they going to know about the grocery cart? A child sitting at a table while the parent is mixing brownies. What is that child, a child who's visually impaired, what is that child going to learn about making brownies? A child who puts their dirty shirt into a basket. And that's it. They drop the shirt. What is that child going to know about doing laundry? The experiences have to be unifying. They have to know all the parts that are involved, or they're only going to know the name of something. They're only going to know one piece of that part. They're not going to see what happens after the dirty shirt gets dropped. They're not going to see that somebody has to carry the basket to the laundry room and all the other steps that go along with that. So teach them how to explore all the parts. Use language. What are these things called? What does it mean? Fill an ice cube tray with water together, and then gently carry the ice cube tray to the freezer. Some of it's going to spill. That's okay. That's how we learn. And later pull it out and look at the ice cubes. That would give them a much better idea of where ice cubes come from. Instead of just handing a child a banana that's already been peeled with the peel thrown away, hand them a bunch of bananas and show them how, or together, break off the banana and teach them different ways to peel the banana. And of course, they're not going to learn how to do it after the first time. They have to be involved over and over and over again. These are things that can happen at the home. They can happen at school. They can happen at friends' houses. We have to make it happen. It's not just one person's job. And we need hands-on experiences, learning by doing. One resource I love by APH, it's called PATTER, P-A-T-T-E-R, Preschool Attainment Through Typical Everyday Routines. So it's looking at simple things that people can do at their house, such as washing the car. I know not everybody does that at the house, but it can. Washing a car, setting the table, doing the laundry. So the premise is that if children are involved in these activities, it's going to teach them all kinds of skills that they need for preschool. These are preschool skills. Filling a bucket, so knowing when something is empty, when putting the dishes on the table, taking them off the table, one-to-one correspondence, putting clothing in the washing machine, taking it out of the washing machine, opening the doors to the washer and dryer, closing the doors to the washer and dryer. When cleaning the car, learning about the front of the car, the back of the car, the sides of the car, the top of the car. There are lots of positional concepts that can be learned from all of these activities and many, many more that preschool children need to learn. But our students with visual impairments are going to get so much more out of it because now they're also learning other concepts in their world. Thank you for adding the pattern link. Yes, putting toothpaste on the toothbrush, not just being handed a toothbrush that already has toothpaste on it, or the ever magical fairy godmother syndrome where the toothpaste on the toothbrush magically finds its way into the child's mouth and their teeth are being brushed for them. Who doesn't want a toothbrush like that? That would save a lot of time in the morning. Here we go. Let us talk about it. We want to, wait a minute, did I get that right? Yep. We have to talk about everything that we do. This is the time, emergent literacy. This is the time when children are learning language. They need the words and the language that are happening during the experiences so that they can make sense of their world and develop all the concepts that are happening around it. The concepts are developed and understood through the experiences and having the language associated with those experiences. They need to be able to contribute and receive information to their world. So the experiences in the spoken word are going to lead to understanding of symbols on a page. And then that's going to lead to the written word, which will lead to sentences and stories and being able to communicate so much more. Receptive language is the understanding part of it. We need to give lots of verbal and nonverbal, which could be physical feedback to babies and to infants. Provide a play-by-play of what's happening. So think of yourselves as commentators. While things are happening, if a child is having diapers changed or getting clothes put on and off, talk about the body parts and what those body parts are for and why you're putting an arm through the armhole and your head through the neck, and what the front and the back is. Add the color commentary, which is going to be describing strategies, giving more background information. So we could be talking about the different kinds of clothing, what's needed. Oh, I accidentally moved it. What's relating to other clothing or outfits or things that they're wearing. Putting socks on their feet. Why do socks go on your feet and not your hands? What happens with why do you need your fingers to be able to move, but not as much the toes? And really just say it as you're doing it. We need to give words to these young ones so that they know what's happening and why it's happening, and while it's happening, not before, not after. Just like in the classroom setting, we need students to have Braille during the lesson, not a few days after the lesson. So let's set our little ones up on the right foot. Otherwise, if we're just talking to them and they're not involved with what's happening, we might as well be reciting Shakespeare to them or Edgar Allan Poe. It's just going to be words, and they're not going to understand what it means. For for children who are very, very low vision or not entirely sure how much vision they have, they're not going to see the smiles, and they're not going to see the just those warm looks and those extra facial expressions. So give them lots of extra hugs and more physical contact, and find ways for that to get that nonverbal communication across, because that's also receptive. The expressive is the communicating. It's how people communicate their feelings, emotions, actions, their wants and needs. So we're going to need to be detectives. We're low vision detectives, and now we are feelings detectives. We have to respond to an infant if they're crying or gurgling or babbling, their facial expressions, their movements. You have to figure out, what do these movements and what do these sounds mean, and then attach words to those feelings. That a mom will always figure out what their child, a mom or dad will know what their baby needs and what they want from learning their movements and learning their actions. So attach words to those. You're hungry, you're happy, you're something doesn't feel right. Do you have a tummy ache? So giving them meaning behind their expressions will help them learn to communicate their feelings even more so. If people are responding to their expressive language, then they will start to learn that cause and effect. Emergent literacy is when they start building the vocabulary and learning about sounds, like phonological awareness. This is auditory in emergent literacy. Nothing is being written down. We're listening. They're listening to how our language sounds. Rhyming, so reciting rhymes, nursery rhymes, poems, songs, wordplay, lots and lots of sounds that our letters make. And when you put the two letters together, they make new sounds, and rhyming those to help them learn and make connections and observations about the sounds. And eventually they will translate that to symbols. When formal literacy instruction is provided, then they'll start getting the grapheme-phoneme relationship. So they'll start making the connections of what these letters and words look like compared to what they sound like. And concepts. Every TVI has an understanding of this one. Concepts. They're everywhere. They're around every corner. They're going to be formed through experiences and the language that's used during those experiences. Again, having an experience isn't going to be real meaningful if the child's not involved, interactive, hands-on, if it's not unifying, and they are not hearing the words and language described to explain it. But they need to know concepts about body, their body parts, the vestibular system, of how, like kinesthetic, proprioceptive, how their body moves, different sensations, facial expressions and gestures, and those gross motor activities. In the environment, they need to know all kinds of environmental concepts: doors, sidewalks, buildings. We've got grass, trees, the ground, street, anything that's out and about, the sky, weather, and attributes or characteristics of everything. So size and shape of items, what sounds different things make, colors, textures, being able to compare, lots of tactile discrimination activities so that we can teach them what different attributes are. We need time concepts, morning and night. If something is a long time or a short time, if something is really fast or quick, if it's ahead of, before, almost, another. The spatial concepts, such as positional concepts, on, over, under, behind, above, the self-to-self concepts, self to object and object to object. Lots of spatial arrangements need to be experienced to be understood. And of course, the movement or actions are going to be lots of gross motor activities. They have to know how their bodies work. They have to know how their arms and legs can move and rotate, and what they're capable of. They have to understand how other things move in space. And quantity, numbers, number combinations, amounts, learning that one-to-one correspondence, symbol awareness, that symbols represent something. So think about a box of cereal, Fruit Loop cereal, and they've got that big bright toucan on the front of the cereal box. Children with typically developing children with no visual impairment, they can probably spot that toucan at the beginning of the aisle or from across the room if that's their favorite cereal. They don't know that the words say Fruit Loops, but they know that symbol means Fruit Loops. So it could be easy for somebody not without awareness of how young children learn or education to think that their child is reading. Oh, she can read Fruit Loops. She can read the picture. Those are symbols. Kids who have visual impairments, it doesn't matter if the symbol is visual, it can be a tactile symbol. So if their favorite cereal is Fruit Loops, we can put something, maybe a scratchy texture on the outside of the box, because when you feel the Fruit Loops and they're dry, they're kind of scratchy and rough. A very simple rubber band can be placed around the Fruit Loops box. And now there's this tactile marker. None of the other cereal boxes have the rubber band. So the child will learn that when they find the rubber band, they know that means Fruit Loops, and it can slowly be replaced with Braille. Other symbols. The activities calendar by APH, I think somebody put that in the chat box as well. It's called the Everyday Activities Calendar. This is a fabulous resource to help reinforce concepts and to encourage families to practice concepts at home. I opened the book this morning to October. It has every month of the year, and it has a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday activity for every single day. You can use it however you want. You can just jot down something on a little note card. You can give it to your student as homework if you're working with young ones and they come back and forth. If you're in an early intervention setting, or even now doing lots of virtual instruction, these would be super great for young kids. But just opening it up, one of them says, for Sunday, go for a walk around the outside of the house. Look in the windows. How many kids know that windows can be seen from the outside, that you can look through them and now know what's on the inside? Another one for Tuesday, play with animal crackers. Well, that doesn't sound like bad homework. Pair them up, soak them, dunk them, and eat them. So soaking them, you're going to teach the kids what immediate cause and effect. Animal crackers are dry, but now you're soaking them in milk or soaking them in water. Soak them in grape juice or orange juice. And now you've got a science experiment. Which one tastes better? What happens once they get soaked? So these very simple tasks. Here's a fun one. Find 3 rocks. Kids love rocks. They love rocks. They make cool sounds. They have different textures. They come in different sizes. So this one says, find 3 rocks, line them up by size. Now we're working on math concepts. We're looking at attributes, something out in the environment and nature, looking at sizes. Compare the first one to the second one and to the third one. Reorder them. So the activities are very, very short and sweet and simple, and then you can spruce it up. Families can change it and get a little more sophisticated, or just keep it very, very simple. So those are great little goodies to hold on to. A Braille-rich environment. So I remember going through my elementary education program, learning about how children learn to read. It was always a print-rich environment. They need print. They need lots and lots of print. They need exposure to print. They need to see people reading print, writing print, modeling good uses of print. So what about the Braille? Where's our Braille-rich environment? We need to create it, and this is where TVI is going to be key. And working with families at home and sending things home, teaching parents how to maybe just starting with the alphabet so they can learn how to Braille their own labels and things at home. But print, we see print on signs over doors, signs in hallways, signs on billboards, signs in front of stores, for sale signs, price tags, signs, coupons, signs hanging down from the grocery store to tell you what aisle you're on or what items you can find within each aisle. We see print in television shows and movies. We see print on devices. So now more and more people are using tablets and phones and computers and less magazines and newspapers, but the print is still there and children are still seeing it. food packages, toy packages, products, everything, everywhere we look, there is print. Everywhere. And imagine an elementary classroom. You have print just hanging from the ceilings. It's just dangling. You literally have print dangling. We don't want to dangle the Braille. That's going to be a little bit trickier. I did see one classroom where they went to town. They Brailled absolutely everything. And I look up this really colorful display that's at the top of one of the walls, where it's very accessible to all the sighted kids from anywhere in the classroom. They could look up and see the colorful display and the words that were printed on it, nice and big and bold. And there was even Braille on them. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. How, do you have a ladder? Are you teaching concepts of climbing to get to the Braille? So we want to create a Braille-rich environment, but it has to be accessible. I was in a gas station one time waiting in line to use the restroom, and hanging down from the ceiling was a sign that said restrooms, and it was a big bold print, and it actually had Braille on it. And I said to the person in front of me, wow, that sign has Braille. And she's like, oh yeah, that's so good. I was like, I guess if you're 10 feet tall and you can reach up and read that sign with your fingers, otherwise it doesn't really help. So think about where are we putting the Braille? It has to be accessible, but it has to be out there. And parents don't know. They don't know this. Some of them do. They're doing research if they've had other children. Early intervention is so important. Early intervention is just the key. And a lot of early intervention is working with families and working with them in the homes. But we need Braille, Braille that kids can access. It can be on greeting cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards, any kind of holiday cards, or congratulations, or a just because card. And Brailing, not just the card that the child who's a Braille reader is receiving, Braille every single card that is going to be sent out, so that they understand that print, that words, language, it's everywhere. It's not just for this one child, but everybody gets it. Making grocery lists. Again, so much technology now, people are doing things digitally, but it's probably not going to take a whole lot of time to sit down and write a quick grocery list, or a list of items that child is going to be responsible for once they get to the grocery store, or making any kind of lists, to-do lists, for families that you're working with and are open to early exposure to technology, having a refreshable Braille display, or working with a child who's young, to show them that there are different ways to make lists and that Braille can be accessed in different ways. You don't have to teach them how to use all of the technology that's out there, but they can be exposed to it and know what is out there. Making notes, leaving notes to one another on the kitchen, on the refrigerator, or a certain spot on a countertop. So every morning the family comes out and they look for their special notes. Putting notes in the child's lunchbox. I had a little pre-K student, and he moved back to Tampa. So he was here, then he left, then he came back again. And when he came back, he had a stepmom. And I noticed in his lunchbox, she would write little messages on his napkin. She would use a little marker and write sweet, cute little messages. And I'm like, he's not going to know it's here. So I would take a little index card, and every morning I would open up the lunchbox and I would Braille the note that his stepmom wrote to him, and made sure that he knew it was in there. And either we read it together, or anybody could read it at this point because it was in print and Braille. Lots of books. We'll get to books, more books. Games, card games can have Braille on them. Board games. There are a lot. APH has so many games out there, and it all comes with Braille. Using a Braille writer and a slate and stylus, refreshable Braille, having Braille on labels. These are all tools that children need to be exposed to early on. And it's not just the observing. They're not just observing, or they can't just observe. They have to be involved in it. So we've got to make this Braille-rich environment and get them opportunities so that they can be in that environment and reading it and having exposure to the Braille. And we have to model. Children need to see other people, whether it's siblings, peers, classmates, friends, parents, family members, teachers, anybody. We all have to find ways to show these young children how we're using the Braille and let them be involved in it. Grocery list in Braille, tear off and put on cans. So that's a great idea. So then once you get the item, I think that's what you mean, Sue, is then you just take that part of the grocery list and you attach it to the item that you just purchased. And now it's labeled. Voila. Can touch this, right? How many of us have gotten in trouble when we were young for touching things? Don't touch that. Put that down. Leave that alone. That's too hot. That's too dangerous. That's too expensive. We want them to touch things. Find things that they can touch. Hand and finger strength and dexterity are going to be crucial because that's how they're going to read. These are all prerequisite skills to literacy, not just to learning about literacy and understanding it, but being able to write and read the Braille later. Kids with vision, they don't have to be told to open your eyes and look. They do that. But kids who are going to be Braille readers, they have to learn how to use their hands the right way so that and develop the skills. So we need some hand and finger strength and dexterity activities like scribbling on a Braille writer. It could be just holding even crayons, pencils, markers, what every other kid is doing. When children are very young, we don't always know if they're going to be a Braille reader or a print reader. Exposing them to as many opportunities to scribble as possible. For developing strength, holding, carrying, pushing, pulling, anything, everything, toys, their dresser drawers, putting groceries away, carrying a half gallon of milk to the table, opening a door, clicking the seatbelt, pushing the button to get the seatbelt out. Just anything that's happening in their everyday life, instead of having someone do it for the child. Let's get them involved in it. And they're not going to be able to do it all right away. They don't know how to do it. They don't know what to do. They don't know why they're doing it. I understand that all of these things are very easy to say, but in reality, there's going to be a lot of other things happening, especially for kids that have additional disabilities. But being involved at some level is going to be crucial. Doing finger play songs. So we're isolating fingers or just making awareness of those fingers, using all kinds of toys with movement, sand and water play, playing with Play-Doh or real dough, using zippers, snaps, and buttons. And it doesn't have to be from start to finish, the whole entire process, but they need to be involved in the process. It could take a really long time for somebody to learn how to use a zipper and operate a zipper, but they can have their hands on it while someone else is using it and going through those. Opening and closing jars or containers, climbing, crawling, those are all going to develop strength in their hands and their shoulders, their arms, encouraging that wrist rotation. The tactile sensitivity and perception. Kids need to have experiences with lots and lots and lots of textures, but not just feeling the textures, we have to name them. What are these textures? Using stuffed animals, toys, blankets, balls, blocks, playing in the mud, the sand, the tile, identifying all these different feelings and textures by giving them adjectives and just naming them. Again, be that commentator. Tell them what's happening, why it's happening, how it's happening, what these things mean. Food, they can eat food with their fingers, noodles, crackers, Jell-O, bread. All those things are going to work on that tactile perception. Doing finger painting with shaving cream or pudding. Experiencing different temperatures. So having exposure to warm, cold water, the sun, knowing what the sun is, that it makes things hot, being in cold weather, being in snow if someone is in that kind of environment, having experience with ice, a fan, the heat vent. So knowing and learning about temperatures is going to help build that tactile sensitivity. And then lots and lots of experience with household items, a hairbrush, a comb, sponges, a scrubby brush, a toothbrush. Do a whole, I feel a concept book coming on about brushes and the different types of brushes, an animal brush, a human brush, a scrubby brush, a toothbrush, all different kinds. Another item that I have listed at the end under resources that APH has produced, it's called Hands-On Functional Activities for Visually Impaired Preschoolers. It comes with just the guidebook, and you can collect the other materials that you need, or if you request the whole kit. It comes with a lot of different sorting trays and some other materials to do activities, but really the gold is the book. It was developed based on a Montessori program or concept, which is using real everything, keeping it real, and teaching by participating in all the things that we talked about, all these different experiences. But the hands-on activities book, it has incredible amount of resources. There are things that you can do with your students in a school setting, in the home setting, or even now in the virtual setting. You could come up with every day lots and lots of activities to send home for families to practice at home, and just give them that idea. One of them, it was just taking a scrub brush and going out into the driveway with maybe a bucket of soapy water and just scrubbing the driveway. So it counts as child labor. You're now getting your driveway clean, but they're learning about, they're developing that muscle by helping to carry the bucket. You're filling the bucket with water, adding soap, getting it slimy, putting the brush into the bucket, taking the brush out of the bucket, and then the actual act of scrubbing the sidewalk or the driveway or the steps in front of your house. They're building so much strength, their hand strength and arm and shoulder strength. And it's a real activity. It's not just here's a board, I want you to rub this block up and down really fast. That just doesn't mean anything. So pick meaningful activities. All about books. Repeated experiences with motivating books help children develop important concepts about books and Braille. So this is another one of my favorite authors, Anna Swenson. Repeated experiences with motivating books. For a 2 or 3-year-old child, what's more motivating than themselves, the child themselves? So we're going to talk about creating books for the children, but also finding books that they can already relate to, and any kind of books, doing read alouds with children. You're going to want to have Braille in them, but you're going to teach them about book skills. They just need to know about books. What are books physically? They come in different sizes, different shapes, different materials. They have symbols on them. We read them from left to right. We read print or Braille from left to right. They have a front, a back, a top, a bottom. They have a spine, just like humans have a spine. That could be an activity right there. Let's find all the spines in our family members, and let's find the spines on the books. They have numbered pages, and the pages are to be turned, and they're turned in a specific order. After what has been presented on the book is done, then we're going to turn it. They have pictures, and the pictures relate to the story. They relate to the idea or the experience that's happening in the story. The words are there to tell the readers what to say. And the stories are about familiar or similar experiences. They should be about things that the children have experienced in their own life. It's going to make it more authentic and meaningful to them. So remember, this is how experiences lead to literacy. If they are reading about something that they have done, a place that they've been to, a story that they wrote with you, that's going to be a lot more exciting and motivating than reading about a volcano that erupted 10,000 years ago. They have to have understanding and involvement with it. So I'm going to talk about one really fun experience that I did with one of my students years ago when she was in kindergarten. And a lot of the activities I did with her were emergent literacy activities. Yes, she was in kindergarten and her classmates were doing formal literacy instruction, but this student came to us at the age of 5, and she didn't speak any English, and I didn't speak any Spanish. And she was totally blind and did not have many emergent literacy early intervention services. The one thing she had going for her is she loved to move, and she did not care where she was going, when she was going, or how she was going to get there. But she had no fear. She wanted to go. So kind of taking all that energy and that security that she came with, which was great, and then putting it into the right direction was the exciting and challenging part as a teacher. So we did a shopping trip. As I explained, the shopping trip just keep in mind all these things that we've talked about, the meaningful experiences, the varied, the interactive, the hands-on concrete, the unifying, the tactile development and hand skills development concepts, all those things, just throw that into the chat box. What you hear that we addressed throughout this lesson. So before the big shopping day, though, we did some prerequisite work. We explored the O&M van. So I was really fortunate to be in a big district where we had a van and a driver that was designated just to take O&M instructors and students on lessons. So one day our whole O&M lesson was just playing in the van. We explored the van, the outside of the van, all the way around the van, the tires, the front, the back, the side view mirrors, the doors, the sliding doors, the open and closed regular doors, the hatch in the back. We opened and went into the car the regular way, and then we opened the back and we climbed in the van from the trunk, and we climbed over the seats and under the seats. We went all the way to the front and jumped in the driver's seat and held onto the steering wheel. And then we went to the passenger seat and we looked at the different seat belts. Seriously, everything in the van. We found things that probably had been left in there from years before because it was a rental van. We also, when it was raining one day, we were lucky to be in a classroom that had a back door that led straight to outside. And it was just a really, really hard rain. The teacher in the classroom had this ginormous golf umbrella, really, really, really big umbrella. So we went outside and we got rained on, and it was a hard rain. So we put the umbrella up and talked about how we're outside, we're in the rain, but now we're not getting wet, and felt the top of the umbrella and the sides of the umbrella. And then we put the umbrella down while we're standing in the rain to feel that the rain is coming, we're not protected, put the umbrella back up, and had a lot of fun out there. And it was loud, and we talked about how it was loud and it was harder to hear, and we had to talk louder. And then we came back inside and it got really quiet and it was dry. And then we got to shake the umbrella and get the water all over the place. And after the rain stopped, we went outside and we looked for puddles. We found lots and lots of puddles, big puddles, little puddles, puddles to reach down and touch with our fingers, puddles that we could jump in that make the water splash and make a big, huge mess. We talked about how she shouldn't do these things at home with her mom or she'd probably get in trouble. And then that's her decision after that. Self-determination. I didn't talk about that. So we did lots of that leading up to the shopping trip. And then the day came. We checked the kitchen area in the classroom to find out what was needed. And we made a grocery list with Braille. And she's sitting in front of me. And our very early Braille lessons involved her sitting on a chair in front of me sitting on the same chair behind her with my legs kind of wrapped around her legs and my arms around hers, as if I was doing a very loving reading experience lesson, but really I was holding her down. Not so much like that, but once we got her settled and we're doing fun stuff and she realized this stuff is about me or this stuff is fun, we got to the point where she would sit and immediately put her hands on top of my hands. And that's how we made the grocery list. And we talked about what was needed. And we grabbed the supplies that we needed to go to the grocery store. We got the list, we got her cane, we got her purse, and we got her umbrella. And then we met the driver and we got in the van. We took the O&M van to the Publix. We got to the sidewalk. She slapped my hand and said to Sola, because she likes to do things on her own. And this little 5-year-old marched herself to the grocery store doors, and they parted, and she just walked right in with her little umbrella, cane, and list. And then she had no idea what to do. So she actually did let me give instruction at that point. She pushed the cart. We looked at the list. We found areas in the store that we needed to go to find the stuff. And then we pulled the items off the shelf. And this is where her little no fear self-determination came into play. We were picking up a 24 bottle case of water and she wanted to get it by herself. It was on the bottom shelf and she kept doing her little wiggle, shooing me away, and okay, you do it by yourself. And she grabs the case and she's pulling and pulling and pulling. And finally she says, help me, Miss Sue. So then we did it together. And I showed her how to put that case on the bottom of the cart, not inside the cart. And she was so excited. She wanted to climb under there because she didn't know that there was an under. Then we listened for the cash registers. After we got all the items, we stopped and we listened. We listened for the ringing and dinging and the hustle and bustle of the front of the store to find the cash registers. She, with assistance or by herself, put all the items onto the conveyor belt, had her put her hands on top of the items so she could feel them sliding down the belt. And she got her wallet out and she got her money out and she handed it over, and she showed her how to stand there with her hands open to wait for the change. And then she helped carry the bags to put into the car or the van and back to the classroom. Cool. Yay. So what should come next? After the groceries are purchased and put away, what else would make this experience complete? Anybody throw in the chat box? Let's see. An experience book, make a book. Making some of the items you bought. Yay. See, you already know what you're doing. We did. We made popcorn with a friend. We had labels on the microwave. She helped set the table, how to serve the popcorn. Lots of socialization because she made the popcorn with her friend. And so they shared some of the activities and they had to clean up. And then we decided to wash and eat the strawberries. The intention was to eat the strawberries. They smelled so good. The entire classroom smelled of fresh strawberries. They were just, you just knew when you walked in the room, it's time. So we needed some mobility around the room to get to the sink. She knew her way. She knew one way to get to the sink, but she was so excited. She didn't want to listen to any instruction, any advice. She was running and being silly. And we got to the sink, washing the strawberries, turned around. I said, let me help you. And she said, no. And I kept trying to redirect her. And eventually what happened is the strawberries spilled all over the floor, the whole lot of them. She immediately goes down to the floor to start grabbing them. And I told her, oh, it's so sad. It's so sad that she should have listened for instruction. We should have worked together, that this is a teamwork activity, that we have to throw the strawberries away. And this is, mind you, an elementary classroom, tile classroom floor with all different ages of kids, lots of things happening. There was nothing in the world that could clean those strawberries and make them edible. So this was a natural consequence, teachable moment. I pull over the trash can. She hears the trash can coming. She tries to very sneakily grab strawberries and get them to her mouth. And I did not grab the strawberries out of her mouth because that would be some magical, all-knowing force and hand coming down from the heavens. I made her throw the strawberries in the trash can by herself so she understood where they were going. It was a sad day. And a very good learning lesson experience. And then when this page came up later in the book, it really brought out those emotions and feelings that she had. And then we made the book. So the book was called, My Grocery Trip, My Shopping Trip. So in the book, I held on to items and things that we had collected throughout the trip. So we had the list, the Braille list that we made. It had Skittles, strawberries, popcorn, Diet Coke with lime, bottled water. So that's the actual grocery list. And the words that we decided to use were, first, I made a shopping list. Ta-da, very simple. When we were at the grocery store, as we found the items on the list, we would scratch them out so that she knew, because we didn't find them in the right order. So she knew what was done and what needed to come. The next page has a picture of, it has a partial, like a piece of the popcorn bag. So we stapled part of the actual popcorn bag. So the popcorn that we popped, so it still smells inside and it's all crinkly. And the sentence we wrote was, then I found popcorn for Niera. So that was one of her friends. Then I found bottled water for Mr. Mesh, the name of her teacher. So he kept bottled water in the classroom for everyone. And the language that we use is very repetitive. First I did this, then I, then I, then I. Then I found strawberries for Sophia. And this is a piece of the actual strawberry container, the plastic container. And the way that we stapled it allows for the lid to open and close. Just like if we were opening up the strawberry container, we were opening the lid. For the longest time, you could still smell the strawberries when we opened the lid. Then I found Diet Coke with lime from Miss Melanie. So that was an aid in the classroom. And it has the end of the Coke box. And you can actually, so the piece where you peel off the end of the box, and then it allows all the cans to slide forward. So again, we could open and close that little piece because of the way we stapled it into the book. And I did the brailing for this. I did a lot of the manipulation and using the tools, but she was there and she assisted as much as possible. So she's learning about the office tools, the stapler, the hole punch, putting the paper in and out of the brailer. And we talked about we did a recap of the trip afterwards. Now there's a picture of a giant bag of Skittles that's stapled to the bag or to the paper. Last, I found Skittles for Miss Sue. And then the very last page says, I like the grocery store. And there's a plastic Publix grocery bag stapled to the paper, and it's stapled from the bottom. So you can hold onto the handles and actually pull up on the bag as if you were able to put items inside of it. So what we did with this book is we kept it simple, short, simple sentences. They were easy to memorize. It had a consistent language. First, I found something for someone. Then I found something for someone. Then I found something for someone. The pictures, so the actual items that were used in the experience were used as pictures, and that's going to activate what happens on that page. So if she doesn't remember what the words are, she can look at the picture, the actual item, and then remember, oh, strawberries for Sophia. And then she would get real sad and we would say it like that. And then we would get to the Skittles and we would get real happy and excited again. But that wasn't meaningful for her. And we did, every time we did a trip, we did a field trip, we did any kind of experience that lend itself to a book like this, we made a book. And she absolutely loved her books. And she did not, before we started making books, her own books, she was not interested in sitting and listening to stories. She wasn't interested in the nursery rhymes and the language, the cutesy stuff. She had no interest whatsoever. She wouldn't even put her finger on the pages for us to help her find the Braille. If she had a book in front of her, it was only in front, if left unattended for 3 seconds, the book would go flying or the pages would start getting ripped out. So this was the first time that we that really got her excited and interested, and she was able to choose which book we could read because she knew what the pictures were because we had made them. Yes, a field trip to the teacher's lounge using the vending machine. That's even better because kids aren't allowed in the teacher's lounge. If you do something that they know they're not supposed to be doing, then you will make it super motivating. There's so much in there. There are books. We're going to keep it real with books. Lots and lots and lots and lots of books. We're going to keep it real tomorrow with Braille. So everything with objects, books, Braille, it's all going to be really real. We have books for every occasion.
So,
yes.
So before you move on too far, Karen was curious how many days and lessons it took for you to do that.
Oh, really good question.
And
this was probably at least a month from the playing with the umbrella, using the umbrella, open, close, going outside, exploring the rain, all those concepts, in and out of the van. We took other trips in the van, but it wasn't every, we didn't have the van every single week. I think we did a previous trip actually to the grocery store, which was just to go around to actually explore the cart and learn about the doors, how they open and close, and the sounds. So this was probably close to a month, like 3 to 4 weeks of activities, and even just labeling together. We put labels when I say together, you all, it's mostly me, but she's there. We're talking about it. I've got her involved in as many parts and pieces as she will sit still for. But all the exploration of the classroom, knowing where things go, knowing about setting the table, where the paper plates were kept, where the napkins were kept. These are all just ongoing building things that we did every day. Yeah, so this is not something you're going to do in a week or a day. And then just making the book itself took a good week. So once we came back, just putting all the pieces together for the book took a really long time. And it's worth it because the more involved they are, the more ownership they're going to have. And they're going to know the process and remember the process and be able to relate back to it. When we're making books, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, pictures. Over here, yeah. The books can be customized to the individual child's, their needs, their interests, their experiences, their level. A book can have 2 words on each page. It doesn't have to be sentences. It could be very, very, very simple. If it's simple, it could be, I like strawberries, I like Skittles, I like popcorn, I like water. Very, very repetitive or simple. Or just some books, if it's an object book, concept book, it can just have a word on it. But those pictures are going to help trigger what that word is. The pictures are a symbol. They represent the item. They represent the experience. And having that Braille on there is then showing them, oh, this Braille is a symbol for this picture, which is a symbol for the experience that I had that I really, really liked. Hopefully they liked it. We can have books about textures, like texture books. Focus on one texture at a time. So something that's really, really soft. You can have lots of soft things on each page, like a sponge, a piece of a fleece blanket, cotton ball. It can be a different texture on every page, like corrugated cardboard, scratchy washcloth, a soft fuzzy fleece. Going around and finding all of these items in the house is going to be important, because taking a tiny piece of it and putting it into a book doesn't mean a whole lot if they don't know what the whole is. So remember that part to whole learning, that children with visual impairments learn pieces and parts at a time, and then use that to build that whole. Concept books. So concept books can be anything. Pick a concept and focus on it. It could be round. And in the book, you could have a page that has coins, one that has a lid from a container, one that has a ring, a hairband. It could be a small plate. Then go around the house or classroom or wherever your environment is and look for all those things that are round. We talked about earlier, the brushes could be a concept book, finding all different kinds of brushes and how they're used and what they're used for. An alphabet object book is using real objects that start with the same letter and sound of the book that, or the letter that you're working on. And yes, Sue Grossman wrote the Texas School for the Blind. It has a list of objects, of real things. I used to go to the dollar store and just walk up and down the aisles, and I'd have to say the name of every single thing that I saw. And then it would trigger, I can use, a dog bone. I can use that for D. Because some letters are a little bit trickier than others, but there are lists that are already created online, and keeping boxes or bags of all these alphabet objects in your car, in your office, in your classroom, or helping families make them at home will be super, super helpful. They don't have to go into a book. It can be a box, an alphabet box. I have some to show in a little bit. I've done counting books. So each object, put objects on each page that can be counted, and they have the number underneath of them. And Anna Swenson's book, Beginning with Braille, she has a really, really cute example of items that are Velcroed to the page. And so it has a number 3 at the bottom. And then there are 3 little items that can be pulled off the page and put into a cup, where the cup is also attached to the book. So everything is attached. It's not going to get lost. And the items, as this child is counting them, puts them into the cup. And then they can count them, put them back on the pages. And now they're using those finger skills to match up the Velcro from the item to the Velcro on the book. And they have to line up the 2 to get the item to stick back. So using Velcro to be able to remove items would be really, really cool. Experience books, which we just shared an example of an experience book. It's having a shared experience and then coming back and making a book about it. and having the pictures and the words on the page at the same time, as opposed to a story box or story bag, which is take an existing book, make sure it's in Braille, and bring that book to life by adding the real objects in place of the pictures. Always add real objects, not plastic representations of the pictures. So I have attached a few pages of an alphabet object book I made for the letter A. We have aluminum foil, and the aluminum foil was, I don't remember if it was glued or stapled. I want to say if it was stapled, it'd probably get ripped off. But I tried as much as possible to involve the students while making these books. The aluminum foil is at the top. I like attaching the objects to the top and keeping the Braille at the bottom, because I found that if the Braille is at the top, the kids with their little teeny tiny arms are reaching really, really high to find the Braille, and sometimes the object would get in the way and it would be difficult for them to find or locate the Braille. Keeping the Braille at the bottom was very consistent, and then the object at the top. And the aluminum foil, you can see that it's super wrinkly and crinkly and very, very well used. So that picture was explored over and over. And I like to use a lead-in line, do a space, the letter A, and then a lead outline, just to reinforce that concept of using all the fingers, using the detective fingers, following through. Once we find the letter A, it lines up, and those lead lines are going to line up the pads, the Braille under the pads of their fingers where it should be, and give them that little reference point. And I like to do the lead outline to encourage that following through, go all the way to the end. And movement, tactile perception does not happen without movement. So if we only have the letter A, just as one little dot, this sad, lonely little dot just hanging out on this page, you touch it and that's it. We need movement. Tactile perception happens with movement. And then underneath of that, wrote the words aluminum foil. Another page, I used animal crackers. I stapled a plastic baggie with the opening towards the bottom. So this student could then open the Ziploc baggie, put their hand inside, touch, feel, play with, take out the animal crackers, put them back in. And then underneath of it, we've got the lead lines, lead in and out with the letter A, and then the words animal cracker underneath of it. This little guy, he absolutely loved these alphabet object books. So I had him in pre-K. He moved across the country. He came back during the summer to visit his dad, and his dad reached out to me to say that he was back, that his son was just asking about me. I said, oh, I'd love to come visit. I was so excited. I was like, woohoo. And I brought him a book I made real quick. I just threw together maybe the A book or a B book, and I went to visit and we read through it. And after that, his dad started calling me and saying, hey, Jason's asking for more books. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, read with him. He'd love that. Do you have any more of those alphabet books? No, I could probably make one though. That would be fine. Working during the summer, doing transition program and teaching classes and all kinds of stuff. And so his dad called me a few days later or texted me and said, how's it going with the book? Oh, I'm going to do it this weekend. Okay, he's demanding this book. Okay. And so I thought that was a really cool thing, that his family got to see what this means to him and why this is so motivating and meaningful. It was something he could actually access. And if he didn't know what the words were, he could look at the picture and then figure out what the words were. So it was really cool when you see these things happening. Another alphabet object book I did was for the letter T, took a tape dispenser and put Velcro on the tape dispenser, Velcro on the page. And that way, when we're reading the book, the student can take the tape off and actually use the tape. So underneath of the Velcro, there are all kinds of pieces of tape, just random pieces of tape stuck all over the book. And we had tape everywhere, on the child, on the desk, on the floor. It was really fun. Still with the letter T and then the word tape underneath of it, trying to keep that consistent so they know where to look. Used a little packet of travel size tissues, and it has a little flap that you can unflap the tissues, pull a tissue out, use it, wipe something down with it, shove it back in there, whatever they wanted to do. But they knew when they got to that, and this is a tissue, and they knew how to use the tissue, they could now read the word tissue because we had it very consistent. We had a toothbrush, a little tiny tube of toothpaste, and a green tea bag. And with the tea bag, it was secured. I think it was probably Velcroed, and I left the little wrapper. It wasn't just the tea bag; it was the entire wrapper, the little tiny envelope that it comes in. So we could open up the little envelope and pull out the tea bag by the little tag that it's dangling with on the string, and it was just very, very real. I would leave these books if I worked in pre-K classrooms. I'd leave the books all over. Everybody had access to them. I had all my objects in boxes and bags because the classroom teacher is going, what wound up happening is I never knew which letter they were doing, or I was off, or they skipped ahead, or there were like spur of the moment lessons. So it was easier just to collect as many objects as I could for every letter, and then just keep them on site. And I came in one time and the teacher was at circle time and she was holding a cup of tea. And she said, oh, we used one of your books. And the kids didn't know what tea was. So we made some tea. And I thought, oh, that's brilliant. And it was great because the classroom teachers and the other kids saw me as a teacher, not just that helper or that special lady that comes in, but they actually are using the materials. They're working on things together. And then I did a lesson one-on-one with the student using the making a cup of tea. Most of these things are Velcroed so that they can be taken out and then put back in again. And that's also working on more hand skills for them to manipulate. Counting book, I did a staples, counting staples. This is one of the easiest, fastest books I've ever made. Use a Braille paper, cut it in half. So it's just little half sheets. And all you need is a Braille writer, a stapler, paper, and some kind of writing tool to write the numbers. But you don't even have to write the numbers. Somebody who doesn't read Braille can read this book because if they can count up to 10, they can read this book. There is the same number of staples are stapled to the book that correspond with the number. So the first page just has a number 1, and it has a staple in the top left corner, and the staple is going lengthwise. And then the next page would have 2 staples, and then the next page 3 staples, and then 4. And what I really like about this one, if you can line the staples up so that they're next to each other, which is tricky when you're making the book with a child, but now you've got these staples to track. As the staples get greater and the lines get longer, you're reinforcing, teaching them to get their fingers at the beginning of the line and start sliding, like tracking from beginning to end while they're actually counting. So when we get to 5 staples on one line, then I go to the next line, and now we've got a whole row of 5, and then 3 under that for 8. By the time you get up to 10, you have 2 rows, each with 5 staples, and now they have 2 lines to track. And the second line, the lines are getting longer and longer and longer. So again, we're reinforcing, starting from the beginning and going all the way to the end, and using both hands to find the staples. I don't know if you can tell, but on the page 10, on the opposite page, you've got the staples that are popping through on the other side, so they're a little sharp. So I took tape and just Scotch tape and put that over top of the sharp pieces. So sometimes when you're making books, I realize like you want to look at the back side of the page and how does that feel? If it's something that's sharp or doesn't feel good, then smooth that out a little bit. An experience book takes a little more. You have to have the experience, but this can happen at home, community, field trips, at school. It could be just going to a birthday party, taking a walk, a day at the beach. So all the things that we talked about earlier. And then we need to talk during that experience, describe what is happening, how it's happening, why it is happening, what does it mean while it is happening. So using all the vocabulary and language, adjectives to describe what's happening. Collect pictures from the experience. So real things that happened at the time of the experience. So it could be party favors or a cupcake wrapper if you went to a birthday party, twigs, rocks, or leaves, or moss if you went for a walk in the woods. At the beach, we can collect shells of sand, a little toy shovel, cut out a piece of a towel. And at a hardware store, maybe maybe we're looking at getting a key made. So hardware stores have tons and tons of a huge box of keys that are no good. They just keep collecting them. So keys are great for counting, for sorting, maybe some keychains, screwdriver, a bath time story could be a soap, washcloth, lotion. So collect the real things and then write the story with the child. Talk about the experiences and simplify it. If going for a walk, keep it very, very simple and repetitive. I went for a walk. I found leaves. I found twigs. I found rocks. I found moss. I went for a walk. The title page and the very last page, if they're the same, then the child's going to remember them. And every page starts with I found, I found, I found, I found. They're going to learn that the I is all by itself and it's tiny. And then there's a space in there. There's this longer word. And that's going to be the word found. And then the very last word is whatever the picture is. The pictures are there to help kids figure out what's being said in the story. And if it was an experience that they had, it's going to be even more meaningful. It's going to activate what happened when they had that experience and how much fun it was or enjoyable or what they learned. And then put it all together by making the book. A lot of the books I like to use with Braille paper because I like to Braille directly onto the bottom of the page. It prevents having extra lines. So if you Braille on a piece of paper and then cut that out and glue it to something sturdier or harder, it'll give you a sturdier book. But now you have this extra line going around the Braille, which it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing, but if I just want to focus on the Braille, then I just want it to be nice and smooth. But some books are going to be really heavy. They're depending on what the objects are that you put in them. So you might need to use a heavier cardboard or cardstock. You can also just use Braille label paper to put them on there. So put the Braille at the bottom of the page. Again, I like to use the bottom of the page because it's going to be consistent. It's easy for the students. Their arms aren't really long. They don't have to reach really far, and they're not going to mess up the pictures. They're not going to get in the way. Securely fasten the items, one item per page or one picture per page using Velcro, some kind of plastic baggie. Pipe cleaners, if you pop the pipe cleaners up from the bottom and then you can twist something, twist around the object. So that can lead to twisty tie skills, using staples, using tape. You can also use glue, but then if you glue something, you're not going to be able to take it off and manipulate the item, and not all items have to be manipulated. So there are different ways to fasten. But if you're using a variety with the Velcro, the baggies, the staples, the tape, and making the book with the child, then that child is now getting all those compensatory skills, learning about different office supplies and products, office tools. Fasten the pages of the book with either maybe large metal ring fasteners or use yarn or string. Stapling the edge of the book where the spine would be, the binding is going to, if you have a lot of big items in the book, then the book's going to stay open really, really wide. If you use a ring or yarn, then the book can be a little bit flatter, easier to manipulate, and the items will be more secure to stay inside. Another experience book that I made with a student is called Bathroom Time is Fun. And these are all just real items that could be found in the child's bathroom setting. So a box of soap, it says the soap smells good. And the box was Velcroed to the paper. I put a little piece of tape at the end of the box so we could open and close it. That way we could take the soap in and out. Think about how many times kids are handed something. They're handed a tube of toothpaste that came out of a box. They're handed the bar of soap. It's just sitting on the counter. Well, where did that soap come from? So I love, whenever I do lessons with kids, I would always just bring the stuff straight from the store. Leave the tags on it, leave the packaging on it, even those impossible plastic containers that you need the jaws of life to get into. And the students have to know that this is how stuff comes. Then there was a washcloth. The washcloth is scratchy. I left the entire washcloth in there so that it could be folded. The toothbrush is long, and I use twisty tie here. Could also use pipe cleaner. So we can untwist the twisty tie and take the toothbrush off. The next one says the toothpaste is squishy, and it's a little teeny tiny kid-size toothpaste. The comb is hard. It's a really long plastic comb. And the last page said bathroom time is fun. These are all real items, real things, stuff that would, if it was for this particular student, these were things that were found in his or her home environment. A story box or a story bag. This is, again, keeping it real. Take an existing book or of a fun story or familiar experience that the child has had, locate the real objects that are mentioned in that book, and then find a box, a container, or a bag to store those items in. And make sure that the child has the item or object at the time that it appears in the story. So these are now acting as the pictures. It'll help make that read aloud or reading that book together come more to life. You can read it aloud to the child and then hand them the objects when you get to that point. You can read aloud to them and encourage them to find the object that's in there. They can have their hands on top of the Braille while you're reading. There's lots and lots of different ways to involve the student. One that I pulled out that I love using is Jennifer's Messes. APH's On the Way to Literacy has tons and tons of books in this series, and they're fabulous books. The pictures, however, are all plastic unless you get an item to go along with them. So if the child has already had experience and they've learned about the real item and the real object, then the tactile graphics will be meaningful. But if you're doing emergent early literacy, then they make this an object book. I mean, that's what they're using, real objects in all of these stories, so that you can go out and find them and pair them and use them together. So the items in Jennifer's Messes were pretzels, crayons, some were broken, hair barrettes, Cheerios, a comb, a key, a pencil, a few coins. So I gathered everything that looked about as closely and felt about as closely as possible to the items in the book. And kids that have low vision can see the pictures. They have bright colors, good contrast. Children can read this with a sibling. So an older child can read this with their younger child who's learning Braille, or an older child who is a Braille reader. The family can have books like this in the house, and now that child can read to their younger sibling who has vision. Maybe it's an adult who's blind and they have a child who's not visually impaired, but they can use books like these to now bring literacy to life. Some other story box ideas using the Jennifer's Messes, The Longest Noodle, Roly Poly Man. These are all On the Way to Literacy books. If you give a mouse a cookie, pulling out a cookie, a cup, an empty milk carton, a little milk carton from the school cafeteria if they have exposure to that, a little pair of scissors, a mirror, a comb, dustpan, all kinds of things in those books that are just found around the house. The Three Little Pigs. I did this with a student before I found a brick on the side of the road and I grabbed it, using bricks, straw, sticks, a hammer, hat, the foot book with Dr. Seuss, slippers, towel, cotton balls, big shoes, small shoes. Just finding whatever stories are being worked on at school or what their families have at home, or just sharing with them ideas of what they can create, or creating them for the families. The resources that I use, besides everything I've learned from all my FSU professors and classes and all the workshops and trainings that I've gone to, the working with the experts that I started with, all the FAER, getting in touch with literacy conferences, and many publications and resources out there. Some of my favorites are the Beginning with Braille with Anna Swenson, Instructional Strategies for Braille Literacy by Diane Wormsley and Frances Mary D'Andrea. That one's not super current, but it has, you don't even have to read the book, just open up to the Emergent Literacy section and it has tables of ideas to do for tactile discrimination, for hands-on, for concept development. It's just an idea a minute. And especially now if you're working with families virtually, you can send home explain all these activities that they can do at home. The everyday activities calendar that the link was put in there, as well as the hands-on functional activities for visually impaired preschoolers. The On the Way to Literacy has a series of the tactile books, but they also have a guidebook or just a textbook that really explains and describes how to get experiences out there, how to get early literacy moving. The Texas School for the Blind evals kit has a pre-Braille checklist, and it goes over, it's in the compensatory access skills booklet. I mean, that can just be used as a list of all different kinds of concepts that kids need, all the prerequisites they need to be successful tactile learners. And there are so many more resources out there. My colleague, Sherry Hart, is going to go over a lot of Braille reading resources and curriculum tomorrow. And we've also got Andrea doing lots on technology, getting technology out there early, and how to teach it and introduce it. There's, we're not lacking in resources. I think we're probably most of us are lacking in time. So pick something, pick your favorite, and just keep it real. Whatever you're doing, use Braille, use real objects, use authentic, meaningful experiences, and your students will be on their way to literacy. And obviously, kids at different levels, you just have to adapt along the way, and work with the families. It's not just one person that's responsible for educating all of these children. Ta-da. Do we have, no, we have a debriefing session after this.
We do.
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm gonna let Liz go through the rest.
So thank you, Sue. That was awesome. Those so many great ideas in there. I know everyone is going to have something they can take right away and go use with the student. So that was great. So for our sessions that we're doing during this workshop, we are asking that you complete our evaluation. It's 4 very short, sweet questions that we then submit to the Florida Department of Education. So you can use the QR code here. There's a bit.ly FIMC-eval, or the link is always on the events page of our website. So be sure to do that. And Sue, if you want to go to the next slide, people waiting with bated breath. So our closing code is TOUCH. TOUCH. So what you're going to do to get credit for this session, which will be 1.5 credits, and we offer ACVREP as well. You can use, again, this different QR code or the bit.ly FIMC-CEUS, and that link is also always on the events page of our website. So that closing code was TOUCH. And so I think we have, what's on our next slide, Sue? I don't remember. Okay, so our contact us. And so as Sue said, we are having a debriefing meeting next. I know there are some questions that we didn't get to. There was one, I think, related to students with multiple disabilities, and then introducing contractions. So we're going to go to our debriefing meeting, and I am going to paste that link in here. You do not have to register for that, but that way all of your cameras and microphones, you'll be able to use them, and you can ask any questions. So Sue will be there, Kay and Kathy Kay will be there, and I will be there as well. And then tomorrow, our first session, Sue is presenting again at 12:30, and that's going to be keeping it real with Braille. So we're going on with the real theme here. So yeah, so I hope you all can join us and move on to our next meeting here. I'm going to kick you all out.
And we do have a session later this week, right, on the I Am Able functional Braille.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Diane Wormsley.
So we are addressing
on Friday. Yeah. So we have, and then Gerald Abner and Jasmine DeGrant are presenting on tactile symbols. So Friday is the day for sessions on students with multiple disabilities. All right. And yeah, so Mia, here's our, I'm going to paste that Zoom link in there again. So if you want to go to our debriefing meeting, you can click on that link.
And it's also, if you can't grab it from